And we're live already. Oh my gosh. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to the Daily Whatever Show. I am Lawrence Winnerman, and this is my Monday queer takeover of the Daily Whatever Show. This is a new tradition around these parts. We are going to spend every Monday talking about GLBTQIA plus two spirit issues and talking to all of my favorite queer folks from across the spectrum and across the world, and having what I hope are deep and interesting conversations. You'll notice, of course, that some things look different. Dana Dubois is not here this morning, of course. She is undoubtedly on the other side of the chat, relaxing in bed, a morning where she doesn't have to get up and actually, be camera ready by 7 a.m. her time. I'm sure that she's enjoying that. I am furtively navigating to the chat in the background, but I wanted to let you all know, in case you haven't seen and it isn't blindingly obvious, we did a major rebrand over the weekend. As you all know, Dana and I started this podcast uh, well, I was going to say over a year ago, just about a year ago, and we've had an amazing year. We've had an amazing time, and we are super grateful for everyone who has joined us and become a part of this Daily Whatever Show family. We started under the brand name Gen Xy because we thought we were just two Gen Xers, and we were gonna, excuse me, spend a lot of time talking about Gen X issues, and we've done that. But really, kind of the bigger thing that we've done is this podcast and this show. And so the Daily Whatever Show, we realized, has become the brand, and Gen Xy served its purpose, but is not really our brand anymore. I mean, certainly we're going to still keep talking about Gen X issues. We're going to talk about, how Dana and I are kind of in late middle age, shall we say, and the trials and tribulations and turmoils of our generation specifically. But bigger than anything else is the community of people that we've built here at the Daily Whatever Show. And so our new brand is the Daily Whatever Show. Substack, if you don't know, lets you one time for free in your lifetime as a Substack, change your subdomain. So we are no longer genxio.substack.com. We are the dailywhatevershow.substack.com. We went through that process yesterday. It was full of chills and spills and thrills, and we thought we'd fucked it up like 3 times, but we did not. We figured it out. I slapped up our new branding, and hopefully you all like. And you'll notice that we're not so much about writing here at the Daily Whatever Show. Gen Xy ostensibly was a place where we did this podcast, and we also each individually wrote. Dana's moving all of her writing to Dana Dubois Writes, and I'm converting Lawrence Winnerman science fiction into just Lawrence Winnerman, and my other writing will appear there as well. So the Daily Whatever Show isn't really going to feature writing anymore. It's entirely about the podcast and the community here. But of course, we're both still writers at heart. And so you'll be able to find our writing in other places, which we hope you are already following and liking and subscribing, and smash the hearts and click the button and all that jazz. So that's my announcement at the beginning. We look a little different, but it's the same old show, as good as ever, maybe even a little bit better, because Dana and I get to do these special days like this not straightforward episode. And I am beyond lucky that in this last year, I got to meet somebody who has honestly changed my life, who is one of the most incredible people that I've ever met. And I'm probably going to cry because I seriously feel that close to my guest today. Madam Füsun Aydın is here. for the second episode of Not Straightforward. She's become a friend and a confidant and an ally and someone who I can't imagine my life being without. And so I'm beyond grateful that she's here today. Let's get her lovely face onto the stage. Madam Füsun Aydın, how are
Hello,
you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm so thankful that you're here. Thanks for doing this.
It's my pleasure.
You
It's my
are
pleasure.
you are looking lovely, and as I noted earlier backstage, the glasses are giving you a total scholar look today. I love it.
It's because I'm blind. I
Uh,
can't see without them.
welcome to my world, friend. If I weren't wearing these contacts, I would be, I think, legally blind in practically every sense of the word. Um, well, good morning for you. Good afternoon. I know that you are somewhere on the European continent. You need not tell us where, but for readers of your Substack, Letters from a Prostitute, folks will know that you bounce around a little bit. Sometimes you are in Amsterdam, and sometimes you are with your girls over at your not so new job anymore. It's been a couple of months at this point.
It
Um,
has, yeah.
but the brothel in which you are a madam and a fabulous one at that.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm bouncing all over the place. I'm pretty transient these days, nomadic.
Transient and nomadic, but continuing to elevate your craft as a writer, continuing to put out there stories that are sublime and fascinating, and I can't wait any longer. I know that people on Substack probably saw the news yesterday, but something huge happened. Will you tell the chat what recently happened in your life? What headline news thing happened to you?
So me and I've been with my partner for a little while. Her name is Lina. She's also on Substack. Um, and on Saturday night, she proposed to me. And I said yes. And so I'm getting married to my best friend, my soulmate, and the only person I think I've ever really loved in that respect, someone I connect to, and I'm just extraordinarily happy.
I
I mean,
as well you should be, Fusa. Like when I think about like the journey that you've been on over, I mean, over your life, but over this last year in particular, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, but it is so much about your growth as a person, right? Like I see it. It's in your writing, and I feel like this is such a like of course you've been engaged now to Lena because the story of your romance is like it's a fairy tale. Like it's a story for the ages. When the two of you met, you were not fans of each other, isn't that right?
that's very true. I can swear, right? Am I allowed to swear?
Oh yeah, fuck yeah. You can say whatever you want. Pretend like
Um,
this is an episode of Dirty Talk, my friend. Like we can do whatever the fuck we want.
so the first time I ever spoke to Lena, I called her a cunt. It's one of my first words with her. I was like, I think you're a cunt because I did. I did. I did. But I was Lena's a few years older than me, and I was new in Amsterdam probably for a few weeks, I would say at this point. She had a terrible reputation. She she was a hooligan and a charlatan, and that news spreads, and I was cocky, arrogant, not really self-restrained, I don't think, in my words. Um, and in the very limited English at the time that I knew, I used that resource to tell her exactly what I thought of her.
Yeah, I can't imagine you, Fusen, as somebody who was shy or or restrained or unwilling to put her thoughts into words. That pretty much tracks.
It's not like me at all, is it?
No.
No, no.
Demure wallflower, shy,
Delicate.
blushing girl that you are.
Delicate, yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
so delicate. Yes, yes, as delicate as a flower. Um, well, and so over the course of the years, you and Lena became friends, and
Mhm.
um, I think the two of you knew for a very long time that there was a huge amount of attraction there, and whatever that initial spark of anger or hate or recognition maybe of a similar spirit,
Mm.
it turned into love, right?
It did. It was hard won. It was hard fought for, and
Yeah.
I think for about 5 years I had kind of checked out mentally. I wasn't really present, and that was very difficult. And there were times where Lena's gone through her own issues, and I think, you know, we we came to love each other at the right time, I think,
Hmm.
and I think all of those things had to happen. We had to get these things out of our system for it to work now,
Right.
you know.
Right. And um, I mean, I for one have kind of witnessed, like I said, your growth over the last year, and part of that has been um, your relationship with Lena and the way that it has changed you and impacted you and challenged you. Um, so hearing the news that she proposed, first of all, Lena, congratulations to you and congratulations on your wisdom. Fusen is unlike anyone else in the world, and so you have affianced a one of a kind superstar. Um, I think it shows a lot of wisdom on her part and perseverance, but she's also been there for you during some really hard times.
Yeah, yeah, she has, the through addiction and through sobriety, well, maintaining my sobriety and
Yeah,
helping me maintain sobriety and live uh a fairly straight life, as straight as I can get.
right, girl. Come on, neither one of us could live a straight life if we tried, but I get what you're saying. As straight as you possibly can. Yeah. So I'm so delighted for you, and I've already told Fusen. I'm saying it here on the record that there is no chance in hell that I am missing this wedding whenever it happens, uh, be it near or far in time. I am flying over to Europe or Bali or wherever the fuck you ladies get hitched, and I'm going to be there with bells on, yelling the loudest, because I'm just so happy for the both of you.
Thank you so much, and you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome.
Thank you.
You're
Um,
welcome.
so much has happened in your life, and we have so much to catch up on. You and I chat on a regular basis, but Dirty Talk we kind of put on hiatus a couple of months ago just because both of our lives started getting really, really full and busy. Um, I jumped in kind of assuming that everyone in this crowd knows who you are, and it is entirely possible that we've added people to the chat over the course of the last couple of months who maybe haven't met you yet. So, could you take a minute to just introduce yourself to the crowd? For many people that you're a familiar face, but for those folks who are new to us,
So, my name is Füsun Aydın. I am a sex worker, a writer. Um, I run a bordello. Um, I've been on Substack for about a year. I originally come from Turkey. I'm what has been now termed, I guess, as a queer refugee. I left my country when I was 19 years old and I moved to the Netherlands, and got asylum in the Netherlands, and but I think first and foremost, I'm very proud to be a trans woman. I'm very proud to be queer. And I think that's about the size of it. I think unless you've got 6 or 7 days free,
I
but
mean,
that's
if people have 6 or 7 days free, I know how they should spend it. They should spend it going to your Substack and reading everything that you've ever written, because Fusen is massively underselling the fact that she is a writer. I continue to maintain that Fusen is a generational talent. Like, we are all going to know her name. I mean, obviously we know her name now, but everyone in the world will know her name. And my new goal for you is you are going to be a one name wonder, right? Like Madonna or Cher or like people will, when you say Fusen in 10 years, people are going to know exactly who you're talking about. Um I would stake my life on it. I guarantee that that's a thing that's going to happen.
thank
Um
you.
so I'd love to talk about your writing for a minute. And the theme of the show, I think the theme of these not straightforward episodes, for at least several weeks and maybe a couple months, is going to be ask me how I know, which is the idea of hard won knowledge. But before we get there, I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about your writing. Um, you recently, at least according to a note that you posted on Substack, you recently finished the first draft of your first book.
I did, yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Of course, so over the period of about 11, 12 years, probably even longer, I was writing little, I guess, little snippets of my life. I would, if something had stood out to me, I would write about it, and I would make these little episodes, and I have all of these books with all of these drafts and all of these, loose papers everywhere with all of these stories that are just bundled in piles and stuff. And I guess over the last few years, ever so slowly, I've decided to form like an anthology, of these little stories
Mm-hmm.
of these encounters I've had with people, and some of them are very strange, some of them are completely non-fiction, some of those could be considered like autofiction, and some of them are just completely absurd. Just from whatever was happening in my head at the time, I wrote about it, and there's a sort of like mythology to it. This kind of I tend to in my writing mythologize sex work a lot, in
Mm.
the sense that I want to write the realities of what sex work is, and be accurate, but honestly I see it as a very magical thing, and there's lots of magical things that happen, and there's a whole subculture that I think is severely underrepresented in arts and writing,
Mm-hmm.
apart from things like the happy hooker and all of these kind of writings that are not necessarily, they don't necessarily lack value, but I think they only tell a certain fraction, of it, and I want to create this kind of world where I'm telling the truth of sex work, but also expressing what occurs in my imagination at the same time,
Mm.
and so I started working on that, had a really prolific period in the past few months where I kind of sewed it all together. Um, but it's fucking, at the moment it's the first draft, but it's fucking batshit. It's honestly just, it's like, it's like an incredibly horny Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
I, I I've read pieces of it, Fusen, that you've been kind enough to share with me. It is absolutely brilliant. Your writing is magnificent. And like I said, I have seen how your writing has grown and changed over the course of the time that I've known you. I fully expect that this is a thing that is going to get published because, I think one of the first conversations you and I had was around writing and around Jean Genet, for example, and his writings about being a sex worker and in his case a thief in at the docks of France. And um, it is interesting, right, that there are these tropes and cliches that exist in our culture around sex work, and they're very, you know, like there's a handful, and they're pretty well, defined. Like you said, the happy hooker is one of them, right? The poor little lost girl, um, hooker with a heart of gold,
Pretty Woman,
right?
yeah.
Pretty woman, yeah. Hooker with, right.
Yeah.
And Pretty Woman is kind of all of them, right? Like
Mhm.
she's happy, she's a lost girl, she's a hooker with a heart of gold, and all she needs is the love of one good man who can see her for who she truly is.
It's
Um,
such bullshit film. I'm
you
so
know,
sorry.
right. I was gonna dig into that, and I know that, part of why you're writing and part of why you're sharing so much about your life in the sex work industry is you're trying to dismantle some of those archetypes, right? Because when you think about it, a lot of them are really disempowering to women, and they're disempowering to sex workers. They're like those tropes assume that you know um, maybe women don't know what they're doing, or that they're trapped and they need somebody, usually a man, to come in and save them. And what I love about your work is you're dismantling and excavating all of that and sort of holding it up and making people look at it and 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 be like, oh shit, that's super
Yeah,
misogynistic,
it is very misogynistic. It's like some people, I mean, I've had comments on Substack a few times about people have approached me and asked, said that they can give me a better life. And I've been like, ugh, no,
Right.
no,
Right.
no. Like, it is very misogynistic. It's this, you're doing something wrong, and
Right.
I'm a man, and I'm gonna come and help you get out of it because you've done something very, very silly. That's
Right.
that's what it is simplified, and that is anathema to me. Like, it is just the grossest thing because it removes autonomy completely
Right.
away from women and men, you know? And yeah, I fight very hard to dismantle that, but at the same time, I'm not gonna sit there and say, being a sex worker is the bed of roses, and there's nothing bad that happens, and it's all smooth sailing, and we all make lots of money and etc. Because it's not how it works,
Right.
you know. So yeah, I spend a great deal of time dismantling those horrible little tropes that seem to have invaded public consciousness in this sense of sex work, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, through your writing, as you're kind of excavating those things, part of what I love about your writing, and one of the ways in which I can really see your writing having changed is, I think you've always been very good at the ability to be an observer of your own life, even as it's happening, or even sort of immediate, something happens and there's a piece of you, it seems like, that immediately goes into the observer mode of like, well, how would I write this? How would I?
Oh, have I lost connection?
I think there's this fantastic tension in your work between emotion and observation, like the emotion of the lived moment and the observation of sort of deconstructing it and saying, here's the meaning that I'm taking away from it.
Mhm.
Would you say that's something that has always been sort of native to you, or is that something that you developed through writing, or where do you think that talent comes from, that ability?
It's really interesting because me and Lena were having this conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and we both have this weird kind of dissociation, where
Mm,
she calls it doubling, right? Which is you're performing and you're there at the same time, but at the same time, simultaneously, you're stood in the corner and you're watching everything happen. You're watching exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think that has always been present in my life since before sex work, since before transitioning. I think I was always looking at things from a bird's eye view, as if there would be incidents where I can kind of recollect from as a child where it was like I was looking at the roof had been taken off my house. Yeah, and I was watching all of these little dramas unfolding in the room. Um, I can't tell you whether it was a dream or what, but it was definitely something that I remember quite consciously um thinking and seeing, and looking at things quite objectively, and then adding emotion later
Right.
upon analysis.
Yeah. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the piece of you that was there having the experience, not the observer, but the part of you that was in that moment, you were having emotions in the moment, right? Like you can feel, not just the basic feelings of pleasure, pain, whatever it may be, but you're feeling sadness or joy or grief or whatever it may be in that moment. It's just that you have this ability to sort of be in two places at the same time, right? I mean, I think Lena's name for it, doubling, is such a good description, because it's like you're in two places at once, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean it is like that. I feel everything that's happening.
Hmm.
It's not like a complete dissociation where you don't feel nothing.
Right.
I know what's happening, I can feel it and everything, but yeah, it is just this really bizarre thing, and I mean I'm not the only time I've had something similar, and I'm not trying to glorify drug use or chemical abuse or anything like that. I don't mean to trigger anybody either, but the only time I had something similar was when I used to shoot up ketamine. You know,
Hmm.
it was this very weird, bizarre, out of body kind of feeling, but then you could feel everything that was happening. It was very, very, very strange. I can't really, yeah, I can't really describe it in a way that's understandable or legible to people. It's it's very bizarre. It's very, very, very bizarre. But I think it's common amongst all sex workers. I think if you've been there long enough, you can do it. I
Right.
think it's actually a safety mechanism, where you can.
Right. I mean, that's kind of where I wanted to go with it, is, like what you're describing, what we're talking about. And you know, um, I would also say it might be common to queer folks as well, because, growing up as a gay kid, I feel like I kind of had that ability as well to, like,
Mhm.
observe myself interacting with people and then sort of stand at a distance and sort of have this, note taker analysis of, like, well, he's fucking up talking to these people and now he looks like a nerd, and, like, or he's never gonna hook up with that guy because he's completely blown, whatever. Um, and I think that if we were talking to a psychiatrist who kind of didn't have a bunch of empathy, they'd be like, "Oh, that's dissociative disorder."
Mhm.
But I don't think it is. I mean, I'm not saying dissociative disorder isn't real and blah blah blah. I'm not a psychotherapist or a doctor or anything, but I think you're talking about a safety mechanism, a protective mechanism that people can develop, a skill that people can develop. And, I think your hypothesis here is that people who are in the sex work industry maybe develop that as a way of, maybe maintaining some control over the situation, or, you know, keeping a record of what's happening. What do
Mhm.
you think it is about sex work that, is it born out of sort of fear necessity, or the protection of heart necessity, do you think, or both, or more?
Fear, fear,
Yeah.
fear. I think the protection of the heart is already taken care of if you're in that position anyway. I mean, it's all about context. It depends on how you're working in sex work and what kind of sex work you are, where you are. If you're in, I mean, the environments that I've been in more recently, it's more about fear. It's about protecting yourself, seeing something coming, not protecting your heart because you're not really emotionally invested anyway.
Right.
So there's nothing that emotionally can really hurt you, um, that isn't physical at the same time. So I think that it's difficult, but it's fear because people can turn quite quickly. Like
Hmm.
people who are men can turn quite quickly, and sexually, if a man feels like he's either being ridiculed or he feels as if he can't get hard or something like that, it can turn dangerous quite quickly. So you have to have that kind of outsider view of things because you can get caught up in the moment as well, where you're not thinking. The only thing you're thinking is, I need to get this person hard, I need to get them out, I need to finish, I need to do this, but I need to give them a good time. You don't really notice that much unless you're paying attention. The little micro changes in their face, their expression, their
Hmm.
tone of voice, everything. You can hear it, and you need to be looking out for that. And I think that comes quite natural to most sex workers, and I think it's all born out of fear because if you're not paying attention, if you're not giving them giving that attention to these people and their attitudes and their energies and everything like that, you can get killed.
Right.
That's the long and short of it. That's the more extreme end of it. But you could get killed. You could get the shit beaten out of you. You could be horrifically injured. It's all. I think all of these safety, this dissociation and the safety mechanism is about fear. But more when I think about it more, there is an element of the heart actually when you're doing something so macabre that's something you wouldn't usually do as a person.
Hmm.
When someone has some kind of kink that you just think is bizarre or strange, or I mean, Lena's writing something right now about someone who had like a nursing kink, where they wanted to be breastfed or at least simulated breastfed. She said,
Right.
I just had to zone out because like dissociate because or go somewhere else because she has children of her own
Right.
and it's close to home,
Right. Right.
and I think in that sense, yes, it is about protection of your sanity and your heart and things like
Yeah.
that. Yes.
Yeah. It's so interesting, Fusin, because I really do think one of the strong characteristics of your work, of your writing, is that ability to sort of be in both of those places and to take the reader on a journey back and forth between, here you are in the moment, feeling the emotion, feeling the fear, the terror, or the lust, or whatever it is, and then the analysis of the meaning of it. And I one of the things I really wanted to make sure that I said to you today was, and I know I've said it like 3 times now, so I get it, but your writing has changed in the year that I've known you. It has grown and it has developed. Like you still are capable of everything that you could do when I first met you a year ago, and now there it's like you're Kali and you grew some extra arms
Thank
or
you.
Shiva or whichever Indian god or goddess I'm thinking of. There's new skills and abilities that you've unlocked in your writing, and I really want to celebrate that because it is I think a talent like yours is so rare in the first place, and then to be able to, I mean, I'm not like saying like, oh, I'm such a magnificent writer or editor or thinker or whatever. It's just really
You are.
exciting. Well, thank you. I wasn't fishing, I promise. But like to see it happening, right? Like to see like, oh, my friend is a great writer. Oh, my friend is really growing as a great writer. That it feels like a gift. It's such a unique thing to see. I want to pause here for a second and say, folks, if you've joined us in Substack, and you are not a subscriber to either the Daily Whatever Show or Fusin, there is probably an orange subscribe button in the upper left of your screen, and I'd really love it if you could go hit that orange subscribe button because Füsun Aydın is somebody whose writing you must read on a regular basis. You should absolutely go subscribe to her right now. And if you are able to become a paid subscriber, because I'm promising you, Fusun's work is going to be something that you're going to be able to turn to your friends and family and say, "Oh, I read her stuff when she was on Substack, just getting started."
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, I mean it.
I, I will just add to that though, if
Yeah,
you're sensitive to sexually explicit language, if you're not comfortable around sexual conversations or sexual texts, then chances are it probably isn't going to be for you.
right.
But I welcome everybody to my page and everybody to try to develop some understanding. You know, we're all fed stereotypes about certain industries and certain kinds of people. And I would appreciate it very much if you did come and have a look and see, um, just to experience a different perspective than from what you would have experienced before.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, right? Because I know you've had a couple of moments where people have like, gotten angry or unsubscribed from you, because they're like, you write about sex and smut too much, and you're like, sweetie, darling, it's called Letters from a
As from a
Prostitute. Like,
prostitute,
what,
yeah.
what the fuck are you thinking? Yeah,
I'm not gonna be writing the transcripts of mass or one of the, or translating the Quran
right,
or
right.
something like
Or
that, you know?
what was our joke from all that time back when we first started chatting with each other? The churches of Cornwall, the Cornwall countryside,
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
the architecture of
Yeah,
the churches of Cornwall.
that's it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
that is not what Fusen is writing about. Although I'm sure that would be a fascinating topic.
I'm sure it would.
Fusen's writing is much more interesting.
Everybody
Um,
has their kinks.
right, everyone has their kinks. Yeah, mine is Vickers in the Cornish countryside. um, well, so the topic that I wanted us to talk about today, and that keeps kind of rattling around in my head, is this idea of like, ask me how I know, which, again, I kind of frame it as like hard won knowledge. And pardon me, you and I have talked previously. I think about like when we were first doing Dirty Talk, one of our first episodes was like, so you want a bottom? How do you douche and get ready to take a dick, right? Like, and I feel like that's a topic that's very, for me at least, it's very much like, ask me how I know, because it's stuff that I didn't necessarily get taught. Nobody really instructed me. It was trial and error and experimentation. Um, but the more I think about it, oh, hang on a sec. Ah, I feel like a lot of queer knowledge is sort of ask me how I know, and so I just wanted to kind of throw it out there. If you want to tell, I kind of warned you that this was going to be the topic. If you've got something top of mind, I'd love to hear it, because in my mind, this is such fertile ground for us as queer people, because there can be serious stories, there can be funny stories, there can be, terrifying, like, scary stories. So I'm wondering, when I told you kind of this is what the topic was, is there something that came to mind for you sort of first, or or several things maybe that came to mind of stories where you feel like you could seriously say like, ask me how I know, sweetie.
I think instantaneously it was bothering me, just instantaneously,
Yeah,
because nobody taught me anything about that. Nobody said this is how you do it. This is how it's supposed to work. This is you're supposed to clean for one thing, which I know
right.
sounds obvious to people, but it's not always. Um,
I Right. I'm a 55-year-old man. I have absolutely met dudes in their 30s and 40s and 50s who appear not to be aware that if you want a penis up in your booty hole, you
mm,
gotta make sure that that thing's clean first. I don't
yeah.
know how. They haven't figured it out yet, but
Hmm.
it's real. Ask me how I
It's
know.
it is exactly. How
Yeah.
do you know?
I
How do you know, Lawrence?
having been with dudes who, have wanted to go to town and fuck, and I you know me, I'm mostly a bottom, right? But I mean, people tend to look at me and be like, "Ooh, daddy."
Hmm.
I have certainly had a number of occasions where I've topped guys, and I've been like, "Oh, are you ready?" And to me, ready means something in that context. Like, ready to me means, oh, you douched, you thought about what you were eating that day, you know, you can feel your body, and you can determine, like, hey, I don't think I need to take a poop right now, and and then you get into the actual act and discover that, oh my, that's not the case. It's I've had horrifying moments, and as I was a younger gay man kind of figuring it out, I the other way around had moments where I was like, fuck, I was sure that I was clean and ready to go, and I guess I wasn't, and that was really embarrassing. um what about you?
Yeah.
I remember you have a lovely story about this, right? Of when you were, or I mean, I don't know if lovely is the right word, but as you were coming up, and I think living in Istanbul, still in the home with the other trans sex workers in your part
Yeah.
of town, wasn't there a story about learning how?
Yeah, and like I mean, I've had several people teach me certain things that I haven't absorbed in. So if I'm recollecting properly, I was I was taught the basics by an older trans woman. After um, I had a incident with somebody who uh, basically I didn't know how to douche properly, and I hadn't cleaned out properly, and uh, I had a client and we had sex, and he pulled out, and there was the obvious had happened, and he wasn't very happy, and I ended up getting assaulted actually because of it.
I'm
Um,
sorry, friend.
it's all right. But I came back, and obviously I was tired, upset, and I was taught by somebody to they pulled me aside and said, nobody's ever told you about this, have they? I
Mm,
said, no. And they said, well, this is what you need to do. And without going into too much detail, step by step, she went through with it with me, and, you know, flushed, flushed me out. And, it was, yeah, it was transformative, but also that I didn't know everything still, you know. I
mm,
didn't I didn't know how deep you needed to go. I didn't know how you needed to hold the water in for a long time or for a longer period of time. I didn't know about diets, about
right,
eating, and about drinking water. None of that. It was She just said, "No, this is what you do and that's it," which is not just generally the case. It's a whole rigmarole of things. You can't eat certain foods.
oh, for
You can't
sure,
you can't you have to restrict your diet, and you know that's why you have to, as a queer person, I think, in many respects, or as someone who can only have anal sex, is you have to go out with the intention of having anal sex. You can rarely have spontaneous anal sex. You need to know that that's what you want,
right,
because otherwise it's not going to work. You're gonna have an embarrassing experience that will stay with you, and it'll either do one or two things. It will teach you a lesson, or it will scare you away from sex.
right,
And I was fortunate to have good people in some respects, but sometimes it was maybe a little too late, you know.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's so true, and it is one of those things where, again, I think the queer community sort of finds itself and teaches itself, because there isn't really any way to learn about these things. If you're growing up in a straight household, which, let's face it, most of us do. Um, it's I, I mean, I had similar experiences. I didn't actually though ever have anyone really teach me. For me, it was a lot of reading. Like finding articles and websites and I saw in the chat someone mentioned like Gay Sex 101 book, and there was and I think still is a book called The Joy of Gay Sex, and I'm sure there are many more now. That they talk about those things, but I think if you're not living the moment, you don't really get it. It's a thing you have to experience. Um, so yeah, I think that is such a clear and great example of like, you know, ask me how I know. That knowledge is hard won and hard fought for, and you know, you've heard me say this before. As a Gen X gay man, a lot of the guys who were just a little bit older than me died during the AIDS pandemic, which is still ongoing, and which, by the way, the Trump administration would very much like to bring back and have done in Africa. Um, you know, so a lot of the knowledge that would happen, cross generationally didn't happen for me at least, and for a lot of people in my generation. And one of the reasons that I'm so adamant about us talking and having conversations like this and being very frank is, you know, there are young queer kids out there right now, maybe, a young trans person, a young gay kid who don't know, what they don't know. And, are if they don't hear it from us, like where are they gonna fucking get it from? Joe Rogan, like
Yeah, for God's sake.
like there need to be good sources of information.
It's important
It is
because
important.
people die. Yeah,
Yeah,
people die if they don't know things. They don't
right. I
know
mean,
things like
not
PrEP.
not to put too fine a point on it, but you were a young girl in Istanbul, and you were doing sex work because it was the only way that you could survive. And this experience that you had with this trick with this John was, that it was he got dirty and he got very angry, right? Like he could have killed you in that moment. Like he could have you said that he assaulted you. Like it is literally dangerous. Young queer kids disproportionately are in situations of risk, and something like that, like getting poop on somebody's dick, could be a thing that sets. Because I was going to say this earlier when you were talking about men can be volatile, right? I've said it before. I think you agree with me. The relationship that men have with their dicks is like the single most problematic and like fear, anger, war driving issue in the entire world. I swear to fucking God, if every dude could just like sit down with a mirror and like look at his dick and become friends with it and not not feel ashamed of it or be afraid of it or think that it is inadequate or that he has to overcompensate because whatever, it's not big enough or it's too big or whatever the fuck he thinks about it, the world would be a better, safer place for everybody.
It
um
would.
yeah.
It really would. And that's a big problem is that yeah, it is like this whole thing about men with dicks. It's you know, it was Freud famously claimed it was boys and their mothers, and now it's men with dicks.
Yeah,
That's what it
yeah,
is.
it's
That's the
like literally just how men feel about their own penises is something that gets projected out onto the entire world, right?
yeah,
Like everyone knows that Trump has a weird looking mushroom shaped, ugly penis. And
Flyer
look at
Gary,
how
yeah.
he treats everyone in the world. He is projecting that inadequacy and fear onto everyone.
Yeah. It manifests in aggression
Yeah.
because, you know, there is nothing more powerful than an inadequate phallus. Like, and I mean, we talk about, big, strong, big, fat dicks, are the best. But actually, they're not the most dangerous. The most dangerous are the really small,
Oh yeah,
oddly shaped micro penises, which, I mean, you can't help it if you have one, but it's the way that society has put all of this weight into the importance of length and girth. And I have to say that there is a very dangerous part of me that agrees with society on this one for my own
same girl,
selfish,
same.
selfish needs. Um, but there is this, yeah, there is this thing about, if you're a small dick, you've got a small dick, you're less of a man. That is the problem, because you feel immediately emasculated. And in the patriarchy, that's very dangerous to emasculate somebody, because then you're saying they don't have a slice of the power that we have because we're more men. And then they fight and fight and fight to do more and more dangerous things, and they get more outlandish because they feel they have more to prove.
Right,
Yeah. Like invading countries or threatening to invade countries, and
right,
kidnapping people.
right,
you know,
right. Conducting war upon your own people. Yeah,
exactly.
all the outlandish things.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's so true. We could like go on forever about that topic. The one that came up for me, kind of ask me how I know. Actually, so yesterday I went on a date.
Did you?
I
That's
did.
amazing.
Uh, it was not amazing, Fusin.
Oh.
I showed up and the dude was wasted. So we were meeting at a brew pub, and he texted me to say that he had gotten there, and he was 30 minutes early, and I was like, oh crap, like, I'm sorry, I thought it was 3:30, not 3, and he's like, oh no no,
Mm.
like it is. I was like, okay, well, hang tight, I'll be there as quick as I can. And I got there, and he was already well drunk, like he
Oh,
was
fuck.
already three sheets to the wind. And
Fuck's sake.
um I he was very cute. uh his name was Matt. And so I was like, God help me from Matt's with drinking problems. Like, universe, what are you trying to tell me? Um, and we had a conversation, and throughout this whole thing, I'm thinking, like I mean, my story. Like, I'm here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and there's not a lot of hot dudes around, and so I meet this really cute guy, and I'm kind of like, would I? Wouldn't I? And I have finally learned, Fusen, that if somebody shows you who they are in the first, 5 minutes of the first date, that's who they are.
Yeah, listen to them. Take them
Yeah,
seriously,
believe
yeah.
it. Believe it.
Yeah.
And so basically, he got very in the way that inebriated people can do, he got very sort of like confessional and revealing, and the conversation got really deep, and I expressed a lot of empathy. And he said, like, and then he kind of got to like, oh, maybe we could go to your place and cuddle. And I was like, no. I was like, no, not in
No.
the condition you're in, and we're not dating. And, kind of got this shocked look, and his, oh my God, his attitude changed just like that. Like, he got mean, basically, like kind of that icy, silent, I'm gonna try to make you feel like a bad person. And I just looked at him and I was like, you are responsible for you. I'm responsible for me. I'm not here to fix you. Like,
Hmm.
and then he was like, well, I'm gonna leave. And I was like, no, I'm not letting you get into your car and drive in the state that you're in. Like, you're gonna sit here and drink at least 3 glasses of water, and and then maybe I'll let you go. But you're not. I'm not sitting here with you, seeing how fucking drunk you are, and letting you go drive.
That's
Um,
mad.
and so it was a longish date because I was sitting there for a while, kind of in silence, and and he was angry at me. But also I kind of see some things flying by in the chat about, like, there are things women couldn't do on a first date, right? Like, I physically outmaster or equaled the guy, and he was super drunk, and I'm not a fighter, but I can swing a punch if I need to, and so I could challenge him. Basically, it'll be like, you can't. I'm not letting you leave until you have sobered up, and so um, you know, it was a bad date.
Yeah,
And my
yeah.
takeaway was, you don't date somebody who needs, like, all of us need work done, right? All of us need to kind of grow and learn and maybe let go of some old patterns. But if someone shows you who they are in the first couple minutes of the date, you got to believe them. And
You have to
I
do
am
that.
not willing or able to date another Matt who has a drinking problem. Ask me how I know.
Yeah.
I've had two. I could have had a third starting yesterday, and I said, no, thank you, universe. How about, like, what next? Like, what is next?
Mm. That how does Matt have a drinking problem? Your ex?
Yeah,
Fuck. Yeah, you can't go through round that roundabout again.
I cannot. I cannot.
No, it's
You know,
very good self-awareness, Lawrence.
Th-
Really.
thank you. Yeah, and I'm also, I mean, I'm being fairly freewheeling with people's personal details, and uh, you know, I get that some people might have an issue with that ethically. Personally, I don't, because I have very much come to believe by the Anne Lamott words, in which she essentially said, if people had wanted you to write about them warmly, they would have behaved better. And
Yeah.
so if you misbehave in front of me, I am going to write about and talk about how you are a douche canoe. And if you can't handle that, you should have behaved better.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying, because I'm like, I said to Lena, I said I can't include names in my writing. She said, well, if they're bad people and they try and sue you, they've got to prove that they didn't do it.
Right,
I, the burden of proof is on them to say that they didn't do it.
right,
But and I'd happily, if someone's wronged me in a very, malicious way, fuck, I'd use their first name. I would make them know that I was talking exactly about them as a reminder to say, look, you were that much of a dickhead. I published a book about how much of a dickhead you are.
right.
So if you don't get the message then and you don't treat it as a learning curve in that moment, then you're never going to.
Yeah,
So fuck it, you can free will with personal details as long as you don't necessarily reveal things about where they work or where they live and stuff. Yeah, I think it's perfectly fine.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. You know, I'm all out of fucks. I thought I was out of fucks previously, but I've discovered a whole new level of fucks that I am now out of, and this kind of falls squarely within that space. I know we're coming up on the top of the hour, Fusen, and I want to be really respectful of your time. Where can people find you, and what do you want people to take away from this conversation today?
I suppose, or you can find me on my Substack, Letters
Mm-hmm.
from a Prostitute by Füsun Aydın. Um, my biggest hope is that in my lifetime at least, we can get to a stage where sex workers and indeed trans people can, and generally all queer people actually, can be removed from the margins and put onto the page.
Yeah.
That's exactly the reason I do what I do, is to be like, look, I'm here. And actually, I'm not the only one here. There are many thousands of others who are here too, and there are many thousands of others who have a story, who are just like you. We may not work in factories or in stores or in other industries, but outside of our work, as non-conventional, unconventional as it is, we're just human beings. You know, we pay bills, we go to the store, we go to doctor's appointments, we go to the park, we have picnics, we go on vacation, we go to the cinema, we listen to music, we love. We have hearts, we have children, some of us, we have, families, and we have lives that are just like yours. That, but the only difference is that our job gives us, and I can bet my last euro on this, is that our job gives us the greater insight into humanity than most others. And you should listen to us because we can tell you what somebody is like and what human beings are really like, because we see human beings at their most vulnerable and their most aggressive and their most frustrated every single day.
Mm,
That's what I would like for people to take away from this conversation, that you have, instead of speculating on people, you have somebody here, and in fact you have loads of very, very good sex workers who write on Substack. You've got a font of knowledge about people. Use it. Don't speculate. Use first-hand experience, and maybe you can learn something, and then in turn I can learn from you.
yeah.
I guess. Sorry for the monologue.
No, are you kidding,
It's a
Fusen?
bit fucking
Why do you
Hamlet.
think I invited you? I'm like, if I'm lucky, I'm gonna get one of those patented Madame Füsun Aydın, monologues. We're gonna clip that shit and spread it all over the internet.
Thank you so much.
I, I want to say before we go, I've started, I don't know, just kind of doing this thing. I've decided I'm calling it unconditional generous gratitude, which means your job, Fusen, is to hear me. You do not need to say thank you, and you do not need to reflect anything back to me. I want to tell you how you have changed my life. Knowing you has been the biggest gift that I have been given from the universe over the last year. I am so grateful to you because you have made me examine parts of my own heart that I don't know that I'd ever examined before. You have taught me about being trans. You've taught me about being a sex worker. You have made an impact on how I view my own morals and ethics and structures in the world. You are an example of somebody who is not just good at heart. And I like, fuck all of the tropes. You are one of the most pure and generous people I've ever met in my entire life. It is my great hope to come to Europe this summer and to meet you in person and finally give you a big hug because you are my sister. You like some weird queer sister child mashup. Like, I love you. I want to protect you. I want you to be safe and happy in the world because I've never met anybody more deserving of all of those things and who's so unbelievably talented. And I'm so grateful that you are seeing it, that you are seeing the love that is out there for you, that you have Lena in your life, that you are engaged to be married to a wonderful person. You've made my life so much better, and I'm so grateful to you. And I can't imagine my life without you. So thank you for everything that you've done for me.
That's You're most welcome. Thank you very
Thanks.
much. And thank you for the gift of you and
Thanks,
how
Fusen.
you've helped me better understand gay people. And
We're not all
for
jerks.
no, exactly, exactly, and that your your labor of love is to provide voices for people every single day. Your continuous, steadfast attitude to what is right, your resistance against the tyranny
Yeah.
and authoritarianism, your dedication to decency is inspirational. I don't comment a lot on people's work. I don't, interact a lot on Substack, unfortunately. My time is, but I follow your work. I listen to what you say, yours and, Dana's and all these other wonderful people that are on Substack that are giving a voice that the rest of the world is not seeing, because the rest of the world now sees America as a failed state, as an unreliable partner, and yours is a reminder that there are good, decent Americans out there, and you help me keep faith in the world. And thank you, Lawrence, and
Thank you.
Dana, and everybody at Daily Whatever, and everybody at Blue Amp, and every wonderful voice in Substack. I thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Fusen.
You're
I'm
welcome.
so happy we got to have this conversation. I hope you have a magnificent rest of your day.
You
Please
too.
go give Lena an extra big hug from me.
I will.
I can't wait. I somehow I'm going to come there this summer, and we are going to finally meet in person, and we are going to go have some fucking fun. We're going to go dancing.
Yeah, it sounds good. It sounds good. I look
All right, my
forward to
friend.
it.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you
Have
so
a great
much.
day, everybody. Thank you for being here. Love you, mean it. Bye.
Bye.
Mwah.